Zophar is one of the three friends of Job mentioned in the book of Job in the Hebrew Scriptures, or Old Testament. According to the account, Zophar is identified as a Nomathite, and he is one of the companions who comes to comfort Job after Job experiences great personal suffering, including the loss of his children, wealth, and health. His role in the narrative, as recorded in Job chapters 11, 20, and 42, is significant in understanding the perspectives on suffering and divine justice. Jehovah's Witnesses, who base their teachings strictly on the Bible, view Zophar's speeches as part of the broader dialogue in the book of Job. They consider his words, like those of Job's other friends, Eliphaz and Bildad, to be representative of incomplete or even misguided human reasoning about God's purposes and justice. Here are some key points about Zophar based on the biblical narrative and the perspective of Jehovah's Witnesses. 1. Zophar's initial speech, Job 11. Zophar is the third of Job's friends to speak after Job expresses his anguish and confusion about his suffering. Unlike Eliphaz and Bildad, who initially attempt a more measured approach, Zophar is the most direct and critical. He accuses Job of being self-righteous and suggests that Job's punishment might even be less severe than he deserves. Zophar appeals to God's wisdom, emphasizing that divine wisdom is vast and unknowable. He argues that Job should repent to gain relief and restoration, assuming that Job's suffering is a result of sin. From the standpoint of Jehovah's Witnesses, this speech is an example of how human judgment can be harsh and lack true understanding of God's ways. While Zophar acknowledges God's greatness, he misrepresents God's justice by attributing Job's suffering to wrongdoing without evidence. 2. Zophar's second speech, Job 20. In his second discourse, Zophar intensifies his accusations. He describes in detail the fate of the wicked, implying that Job's suffering is proof of hidden sin. He paints a vivid picture of the downfall of the unrighteous, asserting that their success is short-lived and their destruction inevitable. He speaks of how their wealth and accomplishments will ultimately vanish. Jehovah's Witnesses would point out that Zophar's words, while containing elements of truth about God's justice toward the wicked, are misapplied to Job, who is described in the Bible as blameless and upright. Job chapter 1 verse 1. Zophar's failure to understand Job's unique situation demonstrates the limitations of human judgment and the need to rely on God's revealed truth. 3. Zophar's silence in the third round. Interestingly, Zophar does not speak in the third round of debates, even though both Eliphaz and Bildad do. His absence from this final exchange might suggest that he has no further arguments or that the escalating debate has exhausted his perspective. This silence could be viewed as a tacit acknowledgement of the inadequacy of his reasoning, as the narrative begins to shift toward a resolution provided by Jehovah himself. 4. God's judgment of Zophar and the friends. Job chapter 42 verses 7 to 9. At the conclusion of the book, Jehovah rebukes Zophar along with Eliphaz and Bildad for not speaking truthfully about him. Jehovah declares that their understanding and words were flawed and that they misrepresented his justice. Jehovah instructs Job to pray for his friends, showing mercy and forgiveness. This highlights Jehovah's compassion and underscores the lesson that even well-meaning humans can misrepresent divine principles when relying on their own limited understanding. From the perspective of Jehovah's Witnesses, this part of the narrative serves as a warning against presuming to speak for God without a clear basis in divine revelation. It also emphasizes the importance of humility and reliance on God's wisdom. 5. Lessons from Zophar's role. Zophar's story is a cautionary example of how incomplete or misguided knowledge can lead to incorrect conclusions about God and his dealings with humanity. Jehovah's Witnesses draw on this account to illustrate the need to approach spiritual matters with humility and to avoid making assumptions about others' circumstances. They highlight the importance of aligning one's thinking with Jehovah's inspired word, the Bible, rather than relying solely on human logic or tradition. In summary, Zophar's speeches in the book of Job contribute to the broader themes of the book, including the nature of human suffering, the justice of God, and the limitations of human understanding. Jehovah's Witnesses regard Zophar's role as an example of how even sincere intentions can go astray when not firmly rooted in accurate knowledge of God's purposes. His story serves as a reminder to rely on Jehovah's wisdom, as revealed through his word, and to avoid judging others prematurely or harshly. Please share and like and please subscribe.